Let's go.
Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Hardcore Wrestling Rants. I am your hardcore host, Rick Head, and I'm joined by the hardcore crew. First, from the Skeldon realms, he's the Lord Skeldon himself, Joseph Knight. Joe, what's shaking?
Nothing much. Let's get this ball rolling.
And over at Lance Moss TV, he's the incomparable Lance Moss. Lance, what's shaking, buddy?
Not much, and I'm so glad to be back.
Absolutely. You know, well, we missed you because all the catchphrases somebody else had to fill in for you.
And
So
now, before we get this started, it's Joe at SkullNewsRealm.com.
What? I didn't even say anything yet.
Well, the night's early. So why don't we get this things going first? MJF announced that he is engaged to his longtime girlfriend, Naomi. MJF posted on Twitter that he wanted the ladies to stop panicking because just because there's still a goalie, it doesn't mean you can't score. Well, you know what? I don't know, guys. Have you seen his fiancée, girlfriend? Guys, I can't. Apparently, I'm the one who's seen him.
Yeah.
Well, let's just put it this way, guys. Personally, I don't care about scoring, but I wouldn't mind taking a few shots at the the goalie.
Yeah.
Hey, you know, he left it open there, so open opportunity, I'm guessing, Joe.
Absolutely.
On a serious note, MJF has signed a new contract with AEW. However, there was no extended time, so MJF could still be a free agent in 2024. Joe, this is kind of interesting because usually when you sign a new contract with a company, it's usually more extended of time and other deals. But obviously, it looks like MJF kind of maybe got more of the benefit on his side this time.
You know what? When he bypassed an extension, he just got a new contract. So what that means is more money, maybe a little bit more creative power, and possibly a world title in his future. Because again, you know, when you look at stuff like this, all of a sudden it means that you're going to get something, and you can add that little proviso into a contract. So I would not be surprised in the least to say, yep, that boy's going to have a title in his future.
You know what? And even without the actual, this new signed deal, it looked like he's heading that way, Lance, because he already has that chip.
Yeah. Now, there is a question that came to my mind. With this young lady, is he going to try to renegotiate the deal in a couple of years after they try to get married?
That's a very good question. I'm not sure on how that would work out. I mean, obviously, if he gets married, he's going to go on a honeymoon and whatnot. I don't know.
No, I mean the deal with her. He likes negotiating things.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess when you get married, there's a totally different negotiations. But before that, yeah, I guess prenup might want to work something out on that one. But I do know, I did a little bit of looking up on this girl, Naomi. She is an artist, and a really pretty good one this time. And we're getting some static in the back. Joe?
Okay.
Okay, I guess it's the Lance time. Sorry about that, guys.
Joe. That's Joe.
At SkullNewsRealm.com.
Yes.
All right. Well, moving on. Velveteen Dream dodged a major bullet this week as all charges of the trespassing. There was also his trespassing and assault were dropped. According to the reports, there was not enough evidence for the DA to prosecute. Velveteen was also Patrick Clark. He was also accused shortly before he left the WWE that he was stalking young kids or grooming them. But again, there was kind of those charges were dismissed. So far, Joe, the only real charge Patrick Clark has on him is still the drug paraphernalia. Now, they didn't really go into details of what that paraphernalia is. Whether I'm guessing it's not just a pipe, for a weed dust.
No, and it's not simple, just pot. It had to have been something a lot stronger. So, yes, surprisingly, in this day and age, you could still get busted in some drugs. So, something big must have happened, but I don't see that really hanging up, unless it was large quantities of it. I don't really see that hangover. I just see him just getting a stiff warning and being just tossed to the side. It's like a slap on the wrist, send him home. What's really bad, and this is, I want to just emphasize on this. When you look at stuff like this, you are given great ability, a great look, the opportunity to be in a major company. This is not a low indie company. He was in NXT. He was held major titles. He was on TV. You know, he had a gimmick that everybody it wasn't like insulting or, you know, something that infuriates someone. He had the gifts, and all of a sudden, when you toss those gifts aside, when you toss your opportunities aside for something stupid, there's no one to blame but yourself. And it's a pity Velveteen Dream pretty much turned himself into a nightmare, and he's going to have a very hard time going back to professional wrestling. He's going to have to lay low for a couple of years, go work at someplace else as a normal job, deny he's Velveteen Dream, and just go and stay out of the way. Maybe do once in a while an indie shot, but that's going to be even a year or two down the road. He needs to avoid any sort of media. He needs to avoid everything so he can go back to being, if he wants to be a wrestler. But Rick, what potential this guy had, and he threw it away.
You know what? I have to agree with you. And his character was somewhat original. You know, a lot of people said he was playing on the Prince, the artist Prince gimmick, but he also kind of talks himself in the third party, as similar to what The Rock did. So he kind of definitely melded his own character and his own gimmick. Lance, now he was released due to all the cuts, but still, what's your take on the whole situation on Velveteen Dream?
Well, okay, he was like, at least to me, he was like a mix between Prince and Goldust almost. Now, granted, I didn't hear about the grooming thing, but I did hear something that I think he'll never be allowed in any locker rooms again, because wasn't he taking videos of other wrestlers' Johnsons?
That I think you're referring to when he was at a party at EC3's house, and that was after. And I guess somehow he left his phone in there, or he was kind of creeping in the bathroom, so to speak. But I'm not sure if any charges were filed. I think he just got his ass kicked. Or
either way, if he even tries to get near a locker room, I think he'll become persona non grata anyway.
Yeah, so he definitely burnt a lot of bridges. I think it did a little bit more than burning them. Excuse me. I think he pretty much.
Things.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, Joe, like what Joe said, if he's lucky, he can kind of stay away for a few years and maybe come back, or maybe even go in the small indies that will take him, that are just doesn't care who you are. Will just say, hey, we get some static again, guys. Now,
I was going to say too, Rick, he's kind of also reminded me a little bit of Orlando Jordan when he was in TNA.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does actually, a little bit. I think he was a little bit more flamboyant. But, as far as the character, he definitely turned up the notches a few bits. But, again, I'd like to see him sooner or later because he is a great talent. But unfortunately, I think it's his personal behavior that's really going to kill his career. Moving on, a lot of people want to see Vince McMahon inducted into the Hall of Fame. Now, for me, don't get me wrong, despite what's happened with the bullshit over the past year with all the sex scandal and hush money, I do believe he belongs in the Hall of Fame. I just don't believe he belongs in the Hall of Fame yet. I think it should be maybe a year or two down the road. Because right now, this is the last time you want to do. Because if he gets convicted for all these charges, then what's going to happen? You have a convicted felon for hush money. It's going to bring it up all over again. It's going to put a taint on the Hall of Fame. I don't know about you, Lance.
Yeah, it's going to be a while, if not posthumously.
All right, Joe, what's your thoughts?
You know, before we went on the air, I did talk about this. Honestly, wrestling fans have short term memory, and when it comes to certain things, they will forgive and forget, especially someone like Vince McMahon. Now, during the conversation, Lance brought up like Chris Benoit, but difference with that it was that as much as I would like to see him being in the Hall of Fame as well, nobody's going to do that because he did something really horrendous. What did Vince do? Just pretty much, he didn't rape anyone. He just, had his fun time with a bunch of females, and that's something that has been going on in companies since, hey, even in the presidency, Ask Kennedy. So Vince is gonna be. I would not be surprised, in all honesty. You're not gonna see. If they could put him in the Hall of Fame, he deserves it. He made professional wrestling what it is, and
Absolutely.
you're not gonna see, without Vince McMahon, no matter what, the cartoon style, the infuriating gimmicks that he created. It's honestly, he did a lot for professional wrestling. So it's there's no reason why he shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. And look at how it's been quiet so far. You're not going to see, if they haven't really brung up anything regarding the trials. I'm not expecting to see or hear anything right now. It's like they're still in litigation. Anything can happen, but yeah, I see Vince going into the Hall of Fame, and he deserves it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like I said, I don't see it happening tomorrow, like this year, next year, but very, in the couple of years ahead, absolutely no questions asked on that one. Well, during a recent interview, Triple H gave his thoughts on the winner of Muchando, also known as Bray Wyatt. While he did not mention if Wyatt was returning to the WWE or not, Hunter did gave high praise on Wyatt's creative skills, and this is what he had to say. He's one of the most, and I mean this in the best way possible, the crazy creative people I've ever been around. His mind just never stops thinking creatively. But it's also being like in a whirlwind of stuff without the harness and without anybody pointing towards a tornado. He's all over the place, and sometimes he's a victim in his own mind. So, honestly, again, I think he was giving praise because sometimes you need a little bit of craziness to be creative. So, Joe, I want to talk about that one part. Do you think this is a sign of Triple H giving just a little peep of him possibly going to the WWE?
This is more of them trying to lure him back into the WWE. Obviously you can see from Hunter's that little speech he did. He talks about how the guy was creative, yet they let him go. Like, oh yeah, he was so creative, you guys let him go. Again, it's one of those things that it really, we have to wait and see. I think Bray Wyatt is a great asset. He won't fit into AEW because all the turmoil they have, and they already have a similar character. Not exactly, but they have the House of Black. And, Malachi Black is planning to leave anyway. So to me, I would like to see him back as a character. I just hope they don't handcuff him again and have Alexa Bliss beat the hell out of him. That's kind of the thing. So.
Well, that's interesting that you mentioned that because this past Monday on Raw, they were talking about how Alexa Bliss has kind of lost a step in the past, few months. How she doesn't seem to be the same. Lance, I know that you watch Raw occasionally, and we saw they've been showing the one with a White Rabbit segment where, again, it's possibly tied how Bray Wyatt's long way to return. However, if the video, did you actually see the segment first before I go on?
I did not, but I have been seeing little hints here and there about Bray Wyatt coming back. Like, there was a schmoz in the crowd, and you just see, like, the Bray Wyatt red shirt and a glove in the entryway. You didn't see a face, but it was, there's no way it couldn't be. That they're teasing the hell out of this. And I keep hearing either Friday or I've been hearing Extreme Rules as possible return points.
Well, here's a quick here's a quick breakdown of the video. It was just a video of a white rabbit with a whole bunch of letters, and eventually spelled out, who killed the world, and it said you did. And it also, as the rabbit was jumping back and forth, it showed a little hang person, like on a noose, just a straw stick. And then once that was done, but here's the thing: in the lower right corner, there was a little hourglass that was spinning. Now, the first thing I saw about the hourglass, I thought Karrion Kross, but also when they made the comment of who killed this world, it was also snuck back. A wrestling fan pointed out that it was also a comment that one of Wyatt's promos back in 2015. So I think the hourglass, if you ask me, was just thrown in just as a side, some kind of a curveball to get people kind of scratching their heads, so to speak. Joe, what's your take on all this?
I would not be surprised if building this up for a Bray Wyatt return. Remember, he had that little bunny puppet too in his little macabre house of insanity. So I would not be surprised that they do something like this, that they're building up to, to a whole, maybe a Halloween theme for him to come back. There's Terry. By the way, there's Terry 3Gs over in the HWR chat room on YouTube. He says, and good afternoon to all Static and all. I think it's Joe just before his cue. Yep. So he was like, basically, yes, the Static is with me, and I'm sorry. But Rick, yeah, I think this is all the White Rabbit deal, Alexa Bliss being lost, so yeah, I think this is honestly, you're going to see, a whole thing where it's a Bray Wyatt return.
Yeah, and I'm definitely leaning towards that way. And the funny thing is that at the end of the video, it said 9/21. Now, that's obviously... Today? No, I'm sorry. Yeah,
that's
it says
today.
9/23. I'm sorry, that was my bad. 9/23. I'm looking at the calendar like a fucking moron. Of course, what do I see? So, that's my twisted brain at work, guys. And I haven't even smoked yet, so... But yes, 9/23, which is a Friday, which suggests SmackDown. So, it's a possible they could show up on SmackDown, yes, or they could just, throw a few more teasers there. So, I guess everybody's going to have to check out the SmackDown to see if that happens.
What colors?
Huh?
The two purple
I'm
ones.
sorry.
What
I'm
the
sorry,
hell is that?
No, I'm sorry. That's my daughter talking on the phone. You two go ahead. I'm sorry.
All right. Moving on. The according to Pro Wrestling Torch, there are some in the AEW locker room who doesn't care for the Young Bucks' passive-aggressive attitude in the back. However, the same group of people who care less for CM Punk's attitude. And this is what, quote, "The Bucks are not seen as abrasive personalities. Passive-aggressive, yes. There are some aspects of that they are not seen as assholes. People who don't like Punk have more of negative things to say than people who don't like the Bucks have to say about in terms of their characterizations." Now, even if this is just a rumor, you're really not sure who it's coming from, or if the Pro Wrestling Torch just made this up. But Joe, I have to say, in the end, it's not too far from the truth, just by the way Punk acted out at All Out.
Yeah, and let's face it, even I am not a Young Bucks fan. I am not a big fan of theirs. But you know what? I gotta give them their due. they actually, have stepped up. They have legitimately, done a lot to help AEW. And yes, they take titles for themselves. And that's not a surprise. Promoters sometimes, if you're a wrestler, sometimes you give yourself a belt just to say you were the first. And that, look at the trios thing, look at any other titles. They obviously gave it to themselves first. So to me, the Bucks are, while they have some egos, which is not a surprise, I think, in all honesty, I think they'd rather deal with Dell's egos than CM Punk's ego. I always said it. CM Punk is a ratings booster. He always was. He's better known than the Young Bucks. If you're a diehard wrestling fan, yes, you know the Young Bucks. So honestly, I think, but now with the situations the way they are, I would not be surprised that with his ego and the comments going down and issues arising and all that and the backstage brawl and all, I would not be surprised, honestly, that this is something that, more people, and then Punk's little press conference smear. I think people would rather look at both evils and say, you know what? I know the devil is bad, but Satan here is worse. So let's just go side with the Young Bucks. And I think that's what a lot of people are going to look at, because at least they did contribute to the product, and they still do. They're part of that little clique, just like how DX had their little clique. So, but they accomplished stuff. So I think we have to look at that. We'll see how this whole situation goes.
Absolutely. Lance, again, CM Punk bragged about how All Out made $1 million on his back, and it seemed to be how since he was in AEW, he's the one that made the company success, when that's really not really the truth. If you look over the past couple of weeks, especially last Wednesday night's Dynamite Grand Slam Part 1, they hit almost 1.2 million viewers without CM Punk or the Bucks. So what's your thought on that one?
Well, actually, I think what everybody was tuning in is to see what in the hell they were going to do next, because, like you say, like it or not, the Bucks are a name, and a very popular name. Punk's a big name. Omega is a big name, which all four of those guys now are not backstage because they're suspended. How are they going to pull this right out of their ass?
Well, again, you're not talking about last week. They were the titles were stripped on the 7th.
Yeah.
On the 14th, they knocked it right out of the park. So, and you know what? They were making money, and they were making the good views before Punk came in the picture. And I think Punk, that's just his ego that he cannot keep in check, that he thinks that I'm CM Punk. I'm the best in the world. I'm the best thing since sliced bread. Well, to be honest with you guys, if I had to see either the Punks and Omega go or CM Punk and Ace Steel, who I could give a fuck less ago, I'd have to say see you later, Punk. Personally, that's my opinion.
Well, and that'll be the right cause. One of the things that made AEW the most appealing product is that you got to see some new talent. Sure, they have names in the back. If you ever worked in the business, especially in the indie circuit, you have to have that, a name. You have to have that name in your company to boost your ratings. So, Punk came in, it's a ratings booster. You saw it all the time. You see it where Chris Jericho comes out and everybody sings Judas. It's Punk is more popular than the Young Bucks, or should I say well known. If you're an indie diehard or you're a wrestling diehard, absolutely you know who the Bucks are. But if you want worldwide appeal, that will be CM Punk. But you know what? In the long run, that pretty much doesn't do much right now for the company. So I can see Punk on the way out. It's already due.
Yeah, you know what? I have to agree with you there. And you know what? Honestly, it was like a nice moment, but I don't think he'll be missed. You know, and also I think with Punk on and currently the Bucks and Omega got to give other talent to step up and move up. Which I think that was an issue we talked. We had all these ex WWE wrestlers coming in because they were taking the spot. Even tonight on Dynamite's Grand Slam Part 2, we're going to have Jon Moxley versus Bryan Danielson, two former WWE wrestlers who also were champions. So hopefully that this is going to be like a quick one and done, and then have MJF come into the fold. But the question is there's been the AEW or interim AEW title, whichever one you want to call it, has been tossed around so many times. I think we need some real solidification for this title, because constantly tossing it around like it's a TV title, Joe, is not doing the company any favors.
Absolutely not. Right now, and then giving it to two former WWE guys. If you look at your roster, let's look at let's pull the guys aside. Let's pull the WWE guys aside. What real names will captivate an audience? Omega, he's been there, done that. Hangman Page was a failure in everything. It was a disaster. So you look at everybody else. You can't give it to Darby Allin. He's too skinny. That's laughable. You can't give it to Chris Jericho again. He's been there and done that. And he's right now at that point in his career where, he can't go as much as he used to. Hell, you look at everybody else, they're too small. The only person that makes sense to give that belt to and give it legitimacy and give it that super heel burn will be MJF, and let him feud with everybody. Make him be, I quoted in the last show, MJF reminds me of Larry Zbyszko. And yes, MJF's work rate is sometimes 1,000 times better than Larry. But if you ever saw Larry Zbyszko's matches in the AWA and the NWA, fans, look that up on YouTube. He has he can boast, he can talk the talk, he can say shit and make you and swear to God that he's has won all his matches and deserves titles. That's the difference, Yeah, that's the thing for me, and they need a character like that. Roddy Piper was the same way.
Yeah.
So honestly, I think they need to start forgetting about these guys and start moving. This is what appealed to me when I tuned into AEW was I didn't like Darby Allin. I said, oh, this skinny little McDonald's French fry serving little punk. And you know what? The kid surprised me. Sammy Guevara impressed me. A lot of these people who you would think are laughable in professional wrestling are literally stepping their game. So I think if you put the belt on MJF, say, I'm against everybody. I don't care for you. I don't care for you. I don't care for you. Make him be that arrogant heel that I don't care who you are, what faction you're in. If you're Tony Khan himself, I hate you. I'm defending my belt and you can't do nothing about it. And I guarantee that's going to equal ratings.
Absolutely. Lance, any final thoughts on the opening spots? We know, obviously, MJF. Is there anybody else on that roster that you could pick out that was not working for the WWE at some point in time? Wardlow. There they go. That's another big name. He's a big guy right now. He is TNT champion. Another person, honestly, that crossed my mind was Sammy Guevara. Jungle Boy needs more time, but I definitely see him carrying a title somewhere down the line. You can also look at somebody like Orange Cassidy, who is also a big fan favorite, who's kind of now put to the side. It seems they're working on the trio.
You're killing me here. You're killing me with these people. Let me put it this way. Sammy Guevara, Orange Cassidy, Adam Cole, all of these guys, they're like middleweights. And if you compare this to for boxing, these guys are middleweights of featherweights. All right. Combined, they probably if you put all those guys together, they'll probably equal Andre the Giant's weight, because that's how small these guys are.
Well, look at Adam Cole. Adam Cole is pretty much about Chris Jericho's side.
Oh, but here's the thing. Guys like them, I hate to say this, but guys like them will be better off, okay, will be better off in a TNT rankings than a world rankings. You said Lance said Wardlow. I agree 100%, but he has it, but he doesn't have the promo skills. Yeah, it's like putting Lex Luger in that belt.
Well, we can say you can also look at over in WWE. Excuse me. You have Roman Reigns, and we said for years he couldn't say shit. But where is he now? He is literally the top dog in the company. So I think, honestly, like you said, yeah, you could use the speech issue. Might be a problem, but all he had to do is put somebody with him. But again, right now it seems like he's content as being TNT Championship. I think
it's because honestly, for Wardlow's case, they don't have anything for him. Because again, Rick, we fall into the territory of you put a big guy in there. Okay, let's say Wardlow says, "Yeah, all right, I'm taking Moxley, I'm power bombing him, I'm pulling the Sid Vicious and power bombing him to hell," and you beat him soundly. Whoa, okay, that's great. Now what do you do? Okay, now this guy is invincible. He's a Goldberg. So what you got to do? Throw guys. Terry 3D says Powerhouse Hobbs also is another person who deserves a run with it. Again, Powerhouse Hobbs is not there yet,
but he's definitely on that scale.
Somebody who I think could do if they pushed him and developed him some. All ego, Ethan Page.
Ethan Page, for me, still has a lot to prove. I've seen him in the ring, and I'm like, I'm not really impressed. Powerhouse Hobbs does impress me. But again, he's still really young. But I think it's all about how that person gets pushed. We've seen wrestlers, look at Pac, when he was over in, at WWE. He was made to look like a buffoon. Then he comes over to AEW, and this guy's personality is completely different. He's a bastard Pac. And his matches are sick. He may be a smaller guy with big ears, which we can make fun of, but at the end of the day, that guy can fucking go. He's still right now the All-Atlantic, AEW's All-Atlantic Championship. But I do want to move on to WWE. We've been kind of like rambling off the subject. And this year's Survivor Series will not only have one War Games match, but two. One for the women and one for the men. Triple H actually spoke upon this, and he said that this year it's just not going to be more of a competitive, just 5-on-5 random people. This is going to be more of a story-driven. It's still want to look, but with the components of the Survivor Series, because it's two teams of 5 fighting each other to win. So, and this is, I think, honestly, Lance, I know you love Survivor Series, and you love War Games, so for you, this might be like, your personal WrestleMania almost.
I'm happy as hell right now.
Now, have they even started to mention names as who's going to be in this in these matches yet? Yeah, so it's still early.
They just mentioned the first of it, that War Games was going to be at Survivor Series last Monday.
Yeah. So, Joe, real quick, what's your thoughts on War Games being a part of Survivor Series?
That's a twist. That's something I did not expect. You know me, I'm a traditionalist. I love the original concept, 5-on-5, teams of elimination. How it began, how it did that. So, me personally, I kind of like the old school, but throwing in the War Games into this, that has possibilities. That is the true art of survival. Because that takes 5-on-5 to go in there. So I'm interested in how they're going to do this. I would do it a little twist. Okay, you do the War Games, but do elimination. That way the match is a little longer. You just don't got, you can get all the main players in one spot. And then from there, let it filter down. That's the best way to do it. So I like the concept. I can't wait to see how they do it. Again, I prefer the 5-on-5 team elimination, but the War Games, oh yeah, now you're taking Survivor to a whole new level, and I hope they keep that.
I do too, but unfortunately, I don't see that happening because WWE kind of likes to try something. Well, they make the attempt to twist things around each year. It was a couple years back when they had NXT brought into it, so it was like Raw, SmackDown, and NXT, which I thought was really great. So hopefully, this will all, like this War Games. I'm gonna be really interested to see how they can have like SmackDown and Raw storylines intertwine to make these matches happen. I'm definitely looking forward to it. So, and it's in my backyard in Boston, Mass. So, but I don't think I'm gonna go to a WWE event just yet.
I'm sorry, what was that, Rick?
I said it's in Boston, Mass, but I don't feel like I'm gonna go to War Games, so I'm not gonna be buying a ticket anytime soon.
Yeah, well, that would be probably quite expensive.
Yeah.
Now, I got a question. Is this a Saturday or Sunday show?
It is a Saturday show.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Interesting.
Now,
but here's one thing I got to bring up.
Okay.
If you're going to do one Survivor Series Elimination Chamber match, Elimination War Games, okay? Wouldn't it make sense to have the Bloodline in one side and maybe whoever is ever opposing them on the other, like Drew McIntyre, Rey Mysterio, and another hot group that can go against them? I think that would be an interesting. All the people who fought Roman Reigns should get that shot. So can you picture? You got the Usos, you've got Roman Reigns on one corner, and then you got everybody who's like, Drew McIntyre, Brock Lesnar, and all these other guys in that opposing team. They won't get along, but to go against the Bloodline, I could see it happen.
It is possible, but again, we're not sure if Roman Reigns is going to be defending the title that night. But like you said, it would be another interesting twist, But again, until WWE starts to lay this out a little bit more as the months go along or the weeks go along, we're not gonna have to. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Now, Adam Cole has been out, as you know, since Forbidden Door with a major concussion. So, and it looks like he's getting ready to return pretty soon. He took to Twitter, and he pretty much, in short, said that when he's gonna be taking over, and when I'm gonna be running shit when I get back. Seriously. And honestly, we talked about this a little bit earlier about guys that's going to have to need to step up with all the other wrestlers being gone due to suspensions. And I honestly see Adam Cole being major championship material. Granted, he was from the WWE, but he was more of NXT. He never really accomplished anything when he got into WWE. So, Lance, what's your thoughts on Adam Cole and his return?
Well, I hope he does because, honestly, yeah, he's had a few bright spots in AEW, but he's also had quite a few not so bright spots.
Yeah, he's suffered. This is a second injury, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah. And then they tried to do that whole elite thing, the Undisputed Elite era, which I thought was a little too much in the mouth. Because they had Red Dragon, they had the Young Bucks, and of course they had Adam Cole.
And half of his buddies are either injured or released.
Yes, Bobby Fischer's gone from the company, and Kyle O'Reilly is still out on injury. So, which is another wrestler I would like to see come up, because I think, honestly, if you haven't seen him, Joe, Kyle O'Reilly is an exceptional wrestler. But again,
Oh,
go ahead.
no, I was going to say, absolutely. I've seen these guys, and they're very, very good workers. Adam Cole, he's, while I wish he would get a little bit more weight to bulk up a little bit, charisma, the moves, the promos, he's another guy that has it. He just doesn't have the real size to compete against a Wardlow or Powerhouse Hobbs, But, I mean, here's a guy who could be a future for the company. He's getting popular. You see everybody do the baby thing when he does it.
Baby.
Thank you. So, he definitely has it. So, I want to see him move up. And like I said, the TNT title right now needs that stability. While you have Wardlow holding it, and personally, if you look at it, if this was, I hate to say it, real, there should be no one that should beat Wardlow unless you do some chicanery, and that's a bad way to do it for him because you're diminishing his, thing. So I'm looking at it like this: they need to take the belt off of Wardlow, give it to these guys, and let them go back and forth because that's the best way to do it. And hold on real quick. Terry 3G says Lance Archer will be good if he's there for the world title. Morrison's another guy who could fit in there. Morrissey? Is it John Morrison you mean?
No, I think the dude that's in the group that basically has MJF's back right now.
Okay. And yes, Terry, War Games was the original thing.
Yeah, Morrissey is a Big Cass.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm so used to calling him Big Cass. But, the War Games was a WCW, well, should I say NWA/WCW thing. It debuted in 1987. It was the Superpowers versus the Four Horsemen. So if you want to look that up, it's very rare to find. It's Dusty Rhodes, Nikita Koloff, and the Road Warriors versus Tully, Arn, Lex, I believe, and oh no, wait a minute, and Paul Ellering, because the managers were allowed in that match too. So you had 5 guys: Dusty, Nikita, the Road Warriors, Paul Ellering versus Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, Lex Luger, and J.J. Dillon. That is the origin of the War Games. The best War Games I've ever seen. You got to look at that up. And I mean of that era.
Yeah. But now, let's go back. You've always been talking about how the wrestlers need to be bigger or have more weight on them. And CM Punk really was never a big guy. So, and if you look at Adam Cole, he's actually bigger than CM Punk. So, honestly, right there, that tells me, as far as weight size, Adam Cole is a shoe-in.
Oh, absolutely. But I mean, for going against a Wardlow, that's a tough, unless he gets outside interference.
Of course.
So pretty much, I think, Adam Cole has it, but they need to develop it. He needs to win other titles before he can move on. MJF has already proven himself without winning a title because he hasn't won any title in AEW. So I think for him, he could do it. Terry 3G says, here's something interesting. Lance, I'm going to toss that one to you and Rick. It says, Terry 3G says, yes, and Adam Cole could be Kenny Omega 2.0 with a little bit more weight and muscle. What do you guys think about that?
I have to agree because not only Cole and Omega have worked together. They were in the same faction before AEW when they were over New Japan Pro Wrestling. I'm referring to the Bullet Club.
Yeah.
So they have worked together. They've worked against each other. So absolutely, no question. Like I said, we're probably ignoring or overlooking a lot of other wrestlers. Powerhouse Hobbs. You could say it needs more time in training, I'm sure, but Right now, we still have MJF, and there's also he was suggesting that he might interfere in tonight's match. He said that I still can jump in whenever I want at any time. So I think he's going to be using it more like the Money in the Bank match where he can make it a trios match. But I'm not sure about that one, Lance.
Yeah, I'm not sure how he's going to work with that because I thought it was a future title exchange, not instant title shot. But hey, stuff changes in this business.
Yeah, as they also say, anything can happen. So, but honestly, guys, I think right now we're going to wrap this up. We want to thank you all for listening. If you like the Hardcore Wrestling Rants, please make sure you like and subscribe to Hardcore Wrestling Rants. We're here every Wednesday night, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. I want to give a quick shout out to our good friends, Mr. and Mrs. A, over at BC Games and More. You can find them at the Facebook in the group section, where they play a lot of retro games, do trivia, give out gifts, and much, much more. Again, that's BC Games and More over the group section. Speaking of the group section, you can also find us out in the HWR chat room where we're posting the latest news. I also cover Dynamite. I do wallpapers. And, of course, we have my favorite, the HWR's Babe of the Day. Joe, you're over at Skeleton Realms. Tell everybody about it.
Absolutely, guys. Check me out. I'm going back to streaming a little bit more full-time now. So definitely check me out. Just do the hashtag Scolders Realm. I am on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. This is a main thing that everybody has been sending me messages. They want to see me play again the Resident Evil series, the originals, not the remakes. So I'm going to be tossing into that again. So make sure you check me out again. Go to hashtag Scoldrins Realm. And if you're interested in my t-shirts as well as the HWR crew, go to scoldrinsrealm.live. Hit the merch button and you'll see all of our t-shirts. Guys, I got something big coming next year. Rick and Lance, you already saw what I was going to be bringing. So that's going to be something that's going to be coming soon. But I'll make an announcement of that possibly in the middle or end of October.
All right. Lance, you're over at Lance Moss TV. What do you got going on over there?
Right now, it's just Lance Moss TV and friends every Tuesday night. We never know who's going to show up, but we usually shoot the shit for hour and a half to 2 hours, and it's usually at 7:05 Central, 8:05 Eastern. So if NXT's on, we will probably be live.
All right, there you have it. And let us not forget our lovely Vicious Vixen, who is currently out of action, but we know that she will be returning very soon. So, for the Hardcore crew, I'm your Hardcore host.
Wait a minute. Time's here. Out of action, my ass. If you see a female wrestler running down the street with a big butterfly net, it's because Jon Moxley got loose again and she's on the hunt.
You know, we promised you we would just keep that quiet.
Yeah, Joe.
Come on, you gotta look out for your friends here.
You should have told me that from the beginning of the broadcast.
Oh, jeez. Well, for the Hardcore crew, I'm your Hardcore host, Rick Head, saying, see you later.
Buy the shirt.
Buy the shirt, indeed.